All right, welcome folks. Mil Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your sit rep for 12/29/21. It's going to be hump day. It's high noon here in the great state of Texas. And without further ado, let's hop on over to the board real fast and take a look at what's going on. Now, I will tell you, it's a little light today, probably about 120 less than usual, although the East Coast seems to be really hopping. Everything else is kind of quiet for the most part, but we kind of delve in just a little here and take a look at what we've got going on. But we've got kind of expected here. It's going to be air refuelers up. And those guys are feeding fighters, right? And so we got Flashbang here in Delaware, and he's about to make another move here shortly from one location to another. But a couple C-17s coming in off the shore, which is a little interesting. Normally you don't see them do that direction. They usually come from up high. So, but another tanker here off of Delaware, actually directly overhead of Delaware. And then we get up here to these. And these are actually running off of Rhode Island, sorry, just east of Boston and Rhode Island in general. So, but anyway, there is that. And let me just get down here real fast to Florida, see what we've got going on. Now, this is another tanker, and we've been seeing a lot of tanker activity as of the last week and a half, roughly. Over Florida, which I'm not really sure what's going on. Like I said, we were speculating that maybe it was tied to a nuclear power plant that's down here, or what is actually a coal plant over Orlando. But it could also be tied to support for Trump being down here. He may be in South Florida as well. So not really sure. We'll just keep a pulse on it. I don't think, somebody mentioned that there is a bomb range in the Orlando area, so to speak, and that you know, they thought maybe that was feeding the fighters that were doing bomb runs, but it'd be a first. I haven't seen that yet, really, so I'm thinking that's probably not it. We do know we've got the Maxwell trial going. It does make you kind of speculate what's going on down there, doesn't it? So, okay. All right, well, we look across the rest of the U.S. Let me get over here to Skyglass, my favorite app, and let's take a look at what we have. Now, this has been going on here. These are B707-300s. These are spy birds, right? And so you can see they have been kind of hanging out over the actually Carolina coast here and over South Georgia. The Peach one we usually do see kind of running routes. They both came out of Warner Robins. But they are kind of hanging out in the general area. Now, let me clear that. We'll take these off, clear the routes, and then let's just take a quick look at what we've got. We've got the highest count. Let's see. Actually, I say that NAs are pretty frequent. Tankers seem to be pretty frequent as well. So if you kind of back up and just look at DC-10s, one DC-10 up, but these are the rest of the tankers over the United States. That is a pretty good number, about 17 of them up right now, which is, you know, we usually are seeing as of late this year with Flashbang in office, around the 20 number. So that is, it's kind of a consistent of what we've been seeing. Like I said, when you see the tankers up, that's usually pretty consistent. That we have, or a good indicator that we have a lot of fighters up, okay? And so these guys are basically airborne gas stations, okay? All right, now we'll bump out of this. Let's take a look at the heavies real fast. I only see 9 H-60s up, and the concentration up here in the Northeast looks to be, we'll take those offline here for a second. Let's look at C-17, C-130s. Just to see what we've got. Not a huge amount. We've got probably, 10 maybe or so. Not really a huge number. Actually, I take that back. About 15 or so, right? 16. So there is that, all right? And so that's going to be our heavies. Now, let me back out. Let's get into the meat of all of this. We get over here, take a look at the ash alert. Now, we've got 6 volcanoes firing. In our last rep on Monday, we had 10 of them. Just kind of goes to show you the, how the Earth just continues to kind of sputter back and forth, right? So 1 minute super heavy, 1 minute it's not. But this seems to be pretty constant down here. Again, La Palma is not going. The one in Japan seems to be firing, and this one up in Russia seems to be firing. So that's going to be our volcano alerts. Now we get over here to Flashbang and his schedule today. Like I said, about 6:50 this evening, they're going to be rolling over to Wilmington, going home probably for the new year. Okay, and so if we get over here to our TFRs, you can see that's going to be pretty consistent with what we're looking at now. So that all VIP going to be making some moves, and that'll probably maintain that over the weekend. Nothing else really on here that catches my eye. We do have a security one down here. These in this general area are power outages. So you can see California's getting kind of whopped with a little bit of power outs. And then we probably will see more as this comes through the little area there. But for the most part, the greens are flash flood warnings. So, okay. Back away from that, let's get over to Brokeback Better, and let's see what we have going here. This is interesting. All of these boats, I've been running a little recon on them. These are all waiting to go into LAX or Long Beach. Most of them, Long Beach are down here, LAX are up here. But this is the port. It is one giant cluster. And you can see these are parked, waiting to go in. I would guess they're probably in the 80 to 90 range if you count the ones out here off the shore. Probably about 100 boats waiting to come in. So it doesn't look like that is getting any better anytime soon. If you're waiting for something, it's probably on these boats. So, all right. Let's get over here real fast to the Ukraine. Just at one of interest. We're continuing to watch this. Now, this happened on Monday. We were talking about the R-135s coming in here and doing a little intel grab. We'll continue to watch this. I'm not sure how this is all going to shake loose, but I will tell you Putin is pushing all the buttons, and he certainly is not concerned with flashbang. So, but this is Ukraine, and this is the Black Sea right here, and he supposedly has them pretty much surrounded up here through Belarus, along the Russian border, and then here in the Black Sea. So whenever he's ready to pull the trigger, he's going to do it, and he doesn't really care what anybody else thinks. So we'll just keep eyes on that. All right, this is going to be one of our spy balloons. This bad dude is actually making a little move. Last time we looked, it was over here on the east coast of Mexico. It's now on the west coast. Note the altitude. It's actually descending right now. It's at 65,800 feet. That's well above any normal air traffic. And so he is probably doing some serious grabbing on intel down there. I imagine they're probably looking at cartels and things of that nature. So we'll continue to watch as long as they'll let us. All right. Now let's get over to the interesting stuff. This stuff is, all right. So this is going to be Biggs Army Airfield. This is in the corner tucked in here in Texas. As you can see, this is actually quite an active base. I was looking at these Omni flights the other day. I do believe these are troops. They are not poppies. And so we seem to have a lot of troop activity and movement coming out of this location. This one's headed to Shannon, across the drink. And I would say I typically will not cover when I see these Omni Airs going. It's kind of like the Camber flights. That's troop movement, and I don't broadcast troop movement. Just because it's our troops. It has nothing to do with flashbang or the administration. I didn't do it when Trump was in either. Just because I want to keep them safe, and anything that I do to broadcast that, I don't want to do. So, but that is what we're looking at here. So that would indicate probably they've got a little staging area here in Fort Worth Alliance, handling their, crossover wherever they're going, or domestically for that matter. Okay. Okay, now I will tell you though, if I do see a bunch of troop movement domestically inside the United States, I will tell you that one. But if they're going across the drink, I'm not messing with it, okay? Just make sure I'm clear on that. All right, so let's get over here to, this is gonna be Laughlin and Del Rio. Been pretty quiet here as of late. This is another Swift Air flight rolling, actually coming in from Knoxville, Tennessee. And then this one here is actually headed outbound to Seattle, Tacoma from there. Now, I don't know, and this one's actually, looks like this one's on the docket for inbound from Portland. Not sure. Those are probably transporting some folks up there, rehoming them, but I'm not 100%. And I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Now, if we get over to the Swift Air flights that are currently on the board, you can see it is actually shrank down. It was about double that, it seemed like earlier. Let me hop over here to our Swift Air Intel and see if we've got, just so you can see, that's what the board looked like about an hour and a half ago. So we've had some things land since. We're down now to, let's see, we've got a couple interesting ones. Guatemala into San Antonio. I don't know if that's coming in full or empty. Alexandria over to Miami. Again, I did see another one that bounced into Haiti as well. So Port-au-Prince, Haiti. So again, I'm not sure. I believe these people are going outbound, not inbound, because it wouldn't make sense to be just swapping bodies, right? So there's that. Now the good, interesting piece of this data. This is something I stumbled upon yesterday because I started researching all of the detention centers, all the foster care stuff, as well as, actually was looking even at the prison system, all tied to illegal immigrants, okay? And so if you look at this is populated, the reds are military installations, okay? Those are 27 camps set up at military installations, all right, including down here. And we'll talk about this one in just a second. But then the yellows are actually detention centers where they are, you know, pulling in immigrants. That's where they're keeping them. They're under the guise of DHS, okay? And then you get these little one-off tent cities that are actually sizable, but those are actually just tent cities, I guess, you know, immigrant tent cities, not on a military base, but outside of it. So we've got 3 of those that I've found. We've got one up here as well. Then the blues are actually kids, okay? The foster care system, Catholic churches, etc., where they're bringing kids into shelters, okay? And that is all based on the Department of Homeland Security's intel. Now, you do have one all the way up here. It's a youth center. I didn't flag that right. That should be a blue and not a yellow. But check this out. This one kind of caught my eye. Didn't know it was there. Could explain some things because, as you know, we've been watching Guantanamo Bay pretty heavily. Now, you may remember we saw DHS secretary fly into this spot a couple weeks ago, right before, I think, Thanksgiving, around that time frame. So he flew in on this end of Puerto Rico, and then he flew over to this side, which is the prison side. And so that is actually a detention center on this end, all right? And so that explains why we had Homeland Security there. And this piece here really puzzled me because I didn't know this existed, although Flashbang has indicated that. You may remember that when he started talking about mass deporting the Haitians, that he mentioned Guantanamo Bay. And so there is actually on Guantanamo Bay a migrant operations center that's been operational since 2007. I did not know that. So this is kind of an interesting deal because we also have a prison system there, but we also have this system here, which would mean that we have a camp on a military installation holding immigrants. So just simply amazing. All right. So again, you know, we always have eyes on Guantanamo Bay, but this is total count for military installations is 27. I will tell you the last time they did this was in World War II. And these camps were designed to hold Japanese, Germans, and Italians. And they were set up on military installations as well as a bunch of others like we see right here. But the military installations was about half of what you're seeing today. So this is definitely ramped up. I will also tell you that the EO that Trump pushed out actually shut down a lot of this stuff, changed the funding cycles and all kinds of different things tied to Homeland Security. And then Flashbang came in, and at one of the first EOs that he pulled the trigger on to revoke was the one that Trump put into play, which basically gaslighted all of Homeland Security, and thus this is what we're seeing. Now, what I do find interesting is I'm showing you these flights. Remember, we're looking at all these odd flights. I get over here to Swift Air, and they're just going all over the board, right? This is why, okay? It's because they are moving, their bread and butter is immigrant transportation, and they're moving folks all around the system as well as deporting them, okay? But what gets me is that they're quietly doing this and nobody's talking about it. So these bases, as they start to move the poppies out and rehome them, they're not shutting these down. And so we need to be paying very close attention to that, all right? Okay, let's get over here to Guantanamo Bay because we had some interesting new activity and we're going to talk on here in just a second. I want to show you, first of all, we have a United Airline flight coming out of Jacksonville. More than likely, that's going to be a troop rotation. And I do know that we have a set of military police coming out of South Dakota also. That's going to be coming inbound here pretty soon. So we'll watch for that one. But get over to the arrival board, you're going to notice nothing really stands out other than these little Eastern Airlines. Could that be immigrant related? Not sure. But let's see here. The other thing too is, remember the National Defense Act. It stated that you cannot use military assets to move prisoners to and from Guantanamo Bay, and specifically related to other countries like Yemen and Saudi and all these different ones where we were actually pulling them in from 9/11. But what it doesn't say is anything about immigrants or detainees that fall under the guise of this DHS immigrant deal. So I think there may be a little loophole here. And so we need to really be watching closely because Sun countries, those are what we expect. The Easterns a pop in, the United Airlines a pop in, the Deltas are a pop in. This one here is just a replacement. It's a normal Tuesday, Friday flight, okay? But what we did have are these other aircraft that rolled in. Now let me just show you real fast. There's nothing going on here right now. This is the first week of January. And if you go back to December, same thing, really nothing happening here. December is quiet, right? We're coming up on, there you go, there's December. Here's the 29th today, and the docket's clear. All right, so there are no court cases supposedly happening right now, but we have activity going on, okay? Now, I was watching this Reach flight earlier. It looks like this one actually kicked out away. It was on that right trajectory coming in. I thought maybe we had a Reach bird coming in from Charleston into Guantanamo Bay, but it looks like it went out here to San Juan, Puerto Rico, so that's a non-issue. But these are the two that flew in, which I thought was interesting, back to back. They came in hot, one right behind the other, originated out of Scott Air Force Base, and rolled into Guantanamo Bay on Tuesday, which, again, there's one that's going to be Cougar 17, and then this other one here is Cougar 59. Both of them coming out of Illinois. They landed in Fort Lauderdale, did a gas and go, and then rolled right into the spa. And of course, it shows here Matthewtown, Bahamas. As you notice, that thing is making the turn. They usually kill the transponder where we can't really see what's going on. Right over here, they always make that little hook and then disappear. So, okay. So let's look at this actual bird. If I can pull it up, it's not gonna, I didn't pull it. All right. So these aircraft, just so you know, these are just solid white U.S. Air Force Learjets. And they basically, you know, I don't know. They just can't, like I said, came out of Scott Air Force Base. I've got eyes on them. Now, if I go look at the history on this one here, you can see today, this Cougar is actually rolling now up to Asheville, North Carolina. And then let me see if the other one is moving too. Thought I had a picture of it. I apologize. I did not pull that, and I'm not going to waste your time trying to pull it. But these are U.S. Air Force birds. I ran the hex codes on them and grabbed that information. And so this one here looks like it just rolled in 23 hours ago back into Lauderdale. So one of them's holding, the other one's up in Asheville. But again, they flew in one tight right behind the other into the spa as well as Lauderdale. So I tracked them all the way from Illinois down to Lauderdale because they caught my eye because they were flying in a tight formation. So, okay. So we looked at the Cougars. Let's break away from the Guantanamo Bay piece for a minute. I will tell you a couple weird things going on, and I'm going to refresh your memory here. We're going to look at the Great Reset. just an FYI, this isn't something I created. I pulled this out of the book written by Klaus Schwab called The Great Reset. I just want to point out, if you look at some of the things on here, you've got asset bubbles, financial failures, unemployments are drivers, social instability, involuntary migration. Okay, we're seeing that. Extreme weather, we're starting to see that, natural disasters. There's a lot of things that drive their model. And don't get me wrong, this is not to be taken lightly. These guys are pretty serious about their approach. You can see the financial crisis, right? Again, this is their business model for execution, to plan, okay? So if we get over here, I just want to show you something. First of all, I put a blog out yesterday. You can find this over on monkeywerxus.com about population control. I'm not going to go into it on here because it will certainly get me bounced, and I don't want to do that. But if you want to go and read it, you can go out to MonkeyWerx, go to the blog. You can see the latest from myself and Mac. But this, I did a lot of intel grabs on this. I wanted to just point out one thing. It says the United States maintained the largest undocumented immigration detention camp infrastructure in the world. Okay, and that was by the end of 2007. You know who was in office during that time? It was the Kenyan. And so when Trump came in, he basically slowed all of this down. And then as soon as he left, Biden picked right back up where the Kenyan left off. We have 961 sites. That includes prisons, detention camps, foster care. Does not include military installations. The military installations is the highest level it's been since World War II. And this is a process that we began in World War II, ended it shortly after the war, but that's the only other time we've done that in the United States. So, okay. Now, let's get over here. I want to show you something. This was out, remember, I was just looking at the Great Reset. We were looking at Klaus Schwab and his plan to execute, right? And so this is actually out by Zero Hedge, and this was talking about IMF, World Bank, and 10 countries held a simulation of global financial system collapse. I believe that took place in Israel, but they are expecting this to unfold. And when I show you some of the other things going on in the world, you will see this is part of their plan, and it is not far off, I believe. I think this is definitely something on the very near-term horizon because they've got to get everybody onto the same monetary system. Countries are struggling from a finance perspective. You can go look at all the lockdowns that are taking shape. Austria, Germany, the UK is about to do it. Australia, that kills their economy. It's an economy killer. And so when that happens, it also disrupts the supply chain, which impacts the rest of the world. But what we're seeing now is the ripple effect. And this is why I want to point this out. Now, the other thing too, actually I bounced into this. I'm going to come back to this one in one second. This is an article that was out. This is a Nikkei Asia. China is hoarding over half the world's grain and just jacking up global prices. That means your cost of beer, folks, is going to be going through the roof. And anything tied to grain, cereals, grain itself, is all going to be going up on cost. But there's a reason China is hoarding all of this, okay? It's because they are on the brink of a big-time economic woe. And more than likely, and they're not just hoarding grain, it says here they're hoarding strategic supplies. Now remember, they are a big provider. We look out here off of the port. This is all coming from China for the most part, every bit of this, and everything that's in here, okay? And so the U.S. is pretty dependent on them, as are the car manufacturers and many other countries around the world. And so they are stockpiling a ton of different commodities that are all going to impact us, okay? And this was actually put out by the Epic Times. This is just a repost of their content. But this is what's driving a lot of it. Not only are they already having economic woes because of the supply chain issue, the fact they can't get their stuff off the boats and into our ports is just putting a double whammy on them. But this right here is worth 26.9% of their GDP, which is pretty massive, okay? So you think about that, that's 25% roughly, a little over 25%, a quarter of their gross domestic product. And so this one here, the coupon payment deadline passes and stocks slide, the Evergrande update. And you can see it's starting to drop into the tank. But these bad dudes are about to tank the world economy if they default. They are the largest real estate company in the world, and they basically have defaulted on their loan. They don't have the ability to pay it back. And you're talking about $400 billion US, and again, 26.9% of China's GDP. And so that's what's driving this hoarding that we're seeing, again, wrong one, right here. Okay, that's why they're starting that's the wrong one. Let's get over here. This one. Oh boy, my thumbs are not working right today. All right, so that is what's causing all of this. And so this is going to be an impact a lot, around the world. It's going to be felt around the world here probably pretty soon. So, okay, let's get me back over to this one. This one I keep bouncing across. This actually was by Israeli 365 News, and I'm only pointing it out because, let me tell you folks, you better have eyes on this. NASA has hired a Catholic priest to prepare religions for encounters with aliens. Okay? There is a reason why you bring in Catholic priests to do that. These aren't aliens. These are going to be demons that they are dealing with, and that's why you bring the church in. It has nothing to do with trying to convince Christians that there are alien life. This has to do with what they're about to encounter, and it's because they aren't aliens, they're demons. You can go back to the book of Enoch, and it talks about all kinds of stuff like that. Of course, that's not part of the canon, but I will tell you, there's enough information out there to make you realize that there is a lot of deception, and this is going to be pretty interesting. So, but yeah, that's on the horizon. And, remember too that NASA actually started back in Operation Paperclip, Operation Paperclip, at the same time DARPA did, right? And so NASA and DARPA, two institutions that are really making the moves. I just realized I'm standing here in front of this rabbi, and I've got a hat on. It looks it's pretty good. I just need the curls and locks there. That's good. All right, let me get back over here real fast. We got a couple minutes left. I'm going to bounce into the Open ADSB exchange and take a closer look at what we have across the U.S. Again, East Coast is very, very hopping, especially up here over where Flashbang is located. Lots of C-17s. These guys seem to be working in closely together. Now, it's kind of weird to see them just roll up and come back. That could be related to transportation moves or something. And then, of course, we got the tanker. This bad dude is hanging off the coast. These are all refuelers right here, two DC-10 refuelers, also hanging off the coast. That would indicate a fairly large amount of fighters in this general area. Kind of what we'd expect, I guess. Another air refueler, you can see he's been out here hanging out in the area. And then another one right here. So very, very active in terms of fighters up here off the East Coast. Down into Florida, again, air refueler in this general area. Something tells me if it's not power plant related or some asset that's down here they're keeping cover on, that tells me probably Trump related, if I really had to guess. Okay, rest of the U.S. Really light on the trainers today. We got a lot down here in Corpus Christi, but other than that, kind of not too much. Again, very light day actually. And trainers usually give us a pretty large amount. Those are usually like 70 or 80 of them up. They tend to skew our number a little bit. Out here off the coast of California, we've got some air refuelers, which would indicate we probably got some fighters up in this general area too. Two air refuelers there. And that's going to be a Navy 737. Looks like he is just rolling out. All right, and then another inbound air refueler that's running routes out here. So there probably is some red flag stuff going on. Probably supporting something red flag wise out here in Vegas. Or it could be Yuma also. Could be Yuma related. Okay. All right, well listen, that is going to do it. We will actually be doing our next sitrep on Friday. Around noon. And so again, if you want to catch the show live, you can do so over on Patreon, and then we will do our Q&A right after this as well. So Monkey Nation, make sure you bounce over to that. That's going to be it. You guys, listen, stay frosty out there, keep your powder dry. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeywerxus.com.